Welcome to my series based on Zentangle's Bijou Be Well, done in May 2025. Each day, Zentangle put out a video featuring one pattern, and the design was meant to be drawn in a short amount of time, so you could just take a little time for yourself and kind of get yourself centered. I encourage you to go visit their YouTube channel. I'll have the link down in the comments, and you could see how they did their designs. This series is meant to walk you through how to draw each design, and then also to give you some alternative ideas for embellishments and ways to kind of zhuzh up that pattern. This video focuses on the pattern Keeko. For all cards in this series, I used the same tools, so you will see in every single video in this series a blue Micron 05 pen, a General's Indigo blue chalk pastel pencil, an 8B graphite pencil, two Tortillons, so one for blue, one for black, and white tiles. And of course, that's my trusty little pencil sharpener there as well. If you followed along with the Zentangle series, you will notice that they also include a white pencil and a Tortillon for that. I chose to not use those for my series because I'm using a white tile, and I find that the white chalk pastel pencil really doesn't add very much to the design. Take a moment to gather your tools, get yourself centered, make sure you're sitting comfortably in your chair. When you're ready, let's begin. We start with a seed-shaped string going diagonally corner to corner, one arc, and then go back up and do another arc. Before I put my pencil down, I'm going to put just a slightly arced and curvy line from one side to the other. You can be kind of random about how you do this. This is just going to give us a guideline to start the pattern. Put your pencil down and pick up your pen. On that guideline, I'm going to come a little ways in from the edge of the seed, and I'm going to draw 4 small, slightly arced lines that stop at the guideline. Then I'm going to turn my card, and from those 4, I'm going to draw 4 arced lines, so they're perpendicular to each other. Then I'll turn the card and do 4 lines going into the baseline, or as many as I can fit between the string and the set of lines that are going parallel to the baseline. And on the other side of those first sets of lines, I'm going to do 4 more perpendicular lines. And I'm going to keep turning my card, just basically 90 degrees, put 4 lines that go into the baseline, and then 4 lines that go into the set of lines that I draw. If you find that maybe something's a little wider or a little off, you can use more than 4 lines. You could do 4 or 5, or you might want to do 3 if you find you're limited on space. Doesn't really matter. Once we get all of these lines drawn in, it's going to look like things are woven together. I'm going to continue down my baseline until I run into the side of the seed. When I start my next row, I'm going to draw 4 lines that go into a set of lines that's going across the card or across the seed shape. So I'm going to do the exact same pattern that I did below on the baseline, except it's going to be opposite. So that way, everything's looking like they are being woven together. It's a very repetitive pattern, but you do need to pay attention to what you're doing so that each set of lines falls within essentially the same area as the set of lines below it or next door to it. Before we continue on with the next row of Keeko, we're going to take a little break and do something different. I'm going to take a set of lines that are parallel-ish to the baseline, and I'm going to draw a big, curvy, swoopy line that comes out of that, goes around, and goes into the other half of the seed shape. Then I'm going to go back and draw an aura to that line. In other words, a parallel line. I'm going to make it a fairly skinny aura, so I'm taking my time, working my way around to the end. And once we get to the end here, I'm going to add a big poke leaf to the end of this line. So at the end of this line, I'm going to put an arc across it. And I'm going to come a little ways above that arc, sort of towards the middle, and I'm going to draw what's basically like an upside down heart and stop when I get to the set of aurid lines. And then I'm going to weight the line that is the arc. So I just added a slight little arc underneath it and filled in the space. From there, I'm going to continue with my Keeko. So I'm going back to that third row and starting with a set of lines that go into that second row. When I get to the little string that I drew coming out of the second row, I'm just going to pick up my pen and draw behind it. And now I'm going to continue until I get to the tip of the seed on this side. Before I fill in the second half with Keeko, I'm going to trace over the baseline that I started with and then aura that. I'm going to make a skinny aura. My thought was to make this feel more like a little string that's going around my seed shape that then somehow comes out the middle and goes to the little poke leaf. And from here, I'm going to start the process of Keeko again. The one thing I'm doing is I'm still doing the opposite as if these were touching each other. So I'm not putting the lines that are going into or perpendicular into that midline across from each other. I'm still keeping it offset. To finish the pen work, I'm going to put a little arc on either side of that midline to round that out. And then on the side of the seed opposite of where the big stem comes out for the leaf, I'm going to create a little tail. So I'm going to do a little curvy line coming out of the side and then start as if I'm going to aura that line, but then bring it in to the end of the first line and create a little curly Q. And with that, I'm going to put down my pen and pick up my chalk pastel pencil. If you're using graphite, skip this step. We're going to use the chalk pastel to add some color to the pattern. Right now, all I'm doing is putting some chalk pastel in the center stripe of each set of lines. If you have more than 3 stripes, pick the fattest one. I'm not trying to color in the whole band. I'm moving kind of quickly and just applying color. When we blend it out, we'll end up with a darker stripe in the middle and some lighter stripes on either side. Then I'm going to grab my tortillon and I'm going to blend out each square. So the first thing I do is I just run the tortillon right down that middle stripe, and then I just pull some of that blue to the stripes on either side. So I have a nice dark stripe there in the middle, and then some nice light blue stripes on either side of it. And I'm going to grab my chalk pastel again to put some shade into the poke leaf. If you're using graphite, you can totally do what I'm doing here. I'm deciding what side I want to be a little darker and what side I want to be a little lighter so I can create a low light and a highlight. On the darker side, I'm putting down some chalk pastel, a nice thick line of it. And then the lighter side, I'm doing a little less. And then I'm just blending that out and pulling that into the middle of the leaf shape. And I'm just being careful not to completely color in the leaf blue. I'm leaving a small white space and I'm creating a gradient with the blue. You can totally do this with graphite as well. I have some darker blue areas along the edges of the leaf and some lighter blue areas in the middle. Next, I'm going to grab my graphite pencil and I'm going to make the woven portion of this pattern look more three-dimensional. I'm picking one side for each direction that the little stripes go. So in this case, I'm picking the left side and I'm putting just a little graphite where one set of lines tucks underneath the next set of lines. And while I have my pencil here, I'm also going to do the left side of the band that is running around the middle of the seed shape. And from there, I'm going to grab my tortillon and blend the pencil work that I've already done on the card before continuing. As I blend this out, I'm keeping the graphite very, very close to the pen line. I'm not pulling it very far into the pattern. And once I'm done there, I grab my pencil and turn my card and do the same thing with the set of lines that are going the other direction. For finishing touches with my graphite, I am going to put a little bit of graphite right where the curvy stem goes into the leaf. I also put some graphite at either end of the band that is going around the seed shape, and then also where it is poking out from underneath the seed shape. And then using the same side as before, so in my case, the left side, I'm creating a little bit of a shadow of that curvy line against the pattern and then also down onto the card itself. As I blend these things out, I'm trying to keep the graphite very close to the pen and not bring it too far away from the pen. And you can see how I'm kind of switching sides based on how the curve is. And then I'm also adding some extra graphite around the left side of the leaf, just to deepen the shadow that it's casting on the Keeko underneath it. And then finally, I'm adding a little bit of graphite to the edge of the seed shape, and I'm going to blend that out right along the pattern. I'm not going to pull that too far out onto the card. And in fact, I'm going to cheat it a little inward towards the pattern. And I'm just doing this to clean up the edges a little bit from where maybe some of the blue might have spilled over a little bit or the pen lines weren't quite lined up. This just kind of smooths that all out and creates a nice edge. Take a moment and appreciate the work that you put into this design. And when you're ready, grab your pen and add your chop. There you have it, Keeko with a little poke leaf.